Entry 45. Yesterday's entry makes me feel embarrassed. Under the watchful and tormenting gaze of the goddess of love, skewered on her terrible lance, I was immolated. Even as a rhetorical description, it's only narcissistic to be so verbose. What in the world was I trying to write? Literature or something? It was nothing like that. I was simply defeated by Jonathan's good luck. Luck, and maybe an unconscious will, or perhaps subconscious is a better word. The kind of thoughtless, instinctive will that could use a mere decoration, a statue of the goddess of love in the mansion's lobby, as the stratagem of my defeat. He did not plan it, but it worked. That is all that matters. I will write only the factual account of how he, with his flesh and blood body, subjugated me, the immortal vampire, without any odd indulgences. I will write what are purely facts. After seeing my body shrugging off the police's volley of bullets like it was nothing, after seeing my recovery, he thought, it seems, of trying to burn me to death. And ordinary flames would not be enough. He tried to kill me with huge flames that would burn down the entire mansion. I can only assume that man intended to go down with me. A double suicide, one might call it. By sacrificing himself, he intended to make sure I would be completely burned away and not escape. And yet, Jonathan survived. The only way I can explain that I alone was incinerated, the only way I can explain that fate, that division of light and dark, is that he had good luck and I had bad luck. Earlier I was talking about the subconscious, about how Jonathan instinctively used a decoration of the mansion in which he had lived all that time, but my knowledge of the mansion's structure was no worse than Jonathan's. Yet he survived, and I died. What was the difference? Does luck really decide everything? Is perhaps being allowed into heaven also decided on such terms? Those with good luck can go to heaven, and those with bad luck cannot. Is that all? Regardless of nobility or pride, regardless of good works or humanity? I do wonder with what sort of meaning my mother used the word heaven to begin with. It's not something to be thinking about at this point, but my understanding of it is too vague. It is truly hard for me to think of it as the heaven, usually based on religious devotion. Did it simply mean a happier place than here? And truth be told, you could find a place better than that town pretty much anywhere, couldn't you? You could make the extreme argument that all places besides that one were heaven. To take one step outside the Brando house, to take just one step into that bottom-rung town, for her, that became happiness. She was able to go to heaven. My mother was like an ascetic monk, performing penance in order to achieve enlightenment, the way she lived and died in that town. Was that love, or some such thing? Love for my father, and love for me, and love for the inhabitants of that town, like a holy woman? Was it something like that? If everything is based on luck, then making a record like this, as well as groping for a way to attain heaven, loses all meaning. Because no matter how much I've thought about it, no matter how much I rack my brains, no matter how much I've schemed, due to unforeseen circumstances, due to unpredictable developments, everything will come to nothing. Luck. Perhaps my bad luck started when I was born to Dario Brando and that foolish mother of mine. Perhaps it started even earlier than my birth, when they met. And Jonathan's good luck started, yes, when he was born as the heir to the Joestar family. So then, is birth everything? Is your upbringing everything? I suppose Speedwagon's opinion was incorrect after all. Perhaps it is the environment that is everything. Or perhaps being born evil is equal to being born into bad circumstances. Is your entry to heaven predicated on your birth? I had decided that my mother certainly could not have gone to heaven, but what if she did, based on evaluation of good works during her lifetime? Or perhaps some other reason I didn't pay any mind to. If that is the case, I am doing something extremely useless and meaningless. Should I just throw this notebook away altogether? Perhaps that would be for the best. Maybe I can get there without doing anything. And if I can't, then, no matter what I do, I still won't be able to. As the Japanese say, muda. The effort is useless. What if that is all there is to it? Entry 46. Even if that is all there is to it, for now, I am going to pursue what I have to its end. Even if there is no meaning to it, I can at least complete it, to take pleasure in the humor of it when rereading it later, and perhaps Pucci, or whoever reads this, will laugh with me then. Because after I've beaten the Joestar group and completely adapted to my body, I may lose meaning in my life. So, in preparation for such a time, I think I should prepare a bit of humor for the sake of a better life. All the same, I'm a bit shaken up. My failures, frustrating enough to begin with, are not very pleasant to remember and write down. In order to reclaim calmness, today I will only be writing about current events. I'll only be talking about what happened in these last few days. Steely Dan's Lovers has been defeated. So have Sun and Death 13. Judgment and High Priestess are already on the move, but I do not think that they can stop the Joestars, not in the least. These people that were originally direct subordinates of Enya the Hag are now acting on their own. They don't wait for me, Dio, to issue them commands. They are bloodthirsty and hungry to be acknowledged as the person who defeated the Joestars. I might go so far as to say things are in a runaway state. Having lost control of them, I have no way of stopping them. Perhaps I should have used flesh buds on them before they became like this, but of course the downside of that has already been proven. Lastly, the stand. The fool, that is, its user, the dog, Iggy, was, as expected, secured by the Speedwagon Foundation. Speedwagon. That man. Even after his death, he causes me trouble. When I look at this foundation he created, no matter how evil a man he tried to be, I wonder if that man was an inheritor or a giver. I've really betrayed my promise to myself. This is ludicrous. I must stop thinking of the past. In any case, it is likely that Iggy will join the Joestars in the near future. It may seem like there has been nothing but bad news, but I have received good news as well. Similar to Iggy, and I suppose the orangutan user of strength, I have found another animal stand user who uses the stand Horus. It is a hawk. I have named him Pet Shop and given him the duty of guarding this mansion. And alongside Pet Shop, I have called all 9 major Egyptian gods into my service. They are all of a different tier than Enya's subordinates. I think I will gather them all into the mansion before the perishing of the last stand users whom Enya gathered, while they can still risk their lives to buy me time. Oh yes, I must call Whole Horse, him alone. Entry 47. We have decided on a day for Pucci to return once again to my mansion. I'll try to form a firm definition in my mind of what heaven is by the time he arrives. What is heaven? Entry 48. Now that I have calmed down, I will continue writing about 100 years ago. I lost. To Jonathan. No, to the Joestars, father and son. I lost. I died. I was killed. But I did not die. I was not killed. I survived. At the very last moment, a pillar, which had broken due to the fire, destroyed the goddess who had skewered me. And so, I just managed to survive. If one could call that good luck, well, this is like that Chinaman said, I have good luck. I suppose that's what it was. I was in a state from which I could not recover for some time, a state that seemed beyond recovery, but regardless, I survived. I lived on. My life continued, not as a human, but it continued, and it continues on now. I did not simply escape death. I survived. For a time, I had to hide myself. I had become an immortal vampire with a powerful ability to recover from any damage, but being restored from the verge of death took time and required considerable life force. So, while I gained servants like Jack the Ripper and drank the blood of young women, I simply waited for my body to recover. And I recovered. And I waited for the day I would have my revenge on Jonathan. But while I was doing that, while I was putting all of my efforts into restoring my body, Jonathan acquired those ridiculous Hamon abilities. The energy of the sun, in a way a celebration of humanity, or one could also call it life, or the soul itself. Those techniques are specialized for exterminating vampires, and he acquired them. I may have written this before, but the man who taught him those techniques was named William A. Zeppeli, Jonathan's new master. From what I've heard, Jonathan met up again with Irina Pendleton for the first time in many years, and was walking a pathway with her when he found Zeppeli, sitting, waiting. Jonathan, injured from our fight in the mansion, had many broken bones, but Zeppeli healed them all. Then he informed Jonathan that I, Dio, also survived the mansion fire. Moreover, to defeat me forever, he also said that Jonathan must learn the principles of Hamon. What a laugh. No, I cannot even laugh at it. It honestly makes me angry. It seems that no matter what, Jonathan is still an inheritor. He never had to search for a method to defeat me. He never had to travel deep into the mountains of Tibet and ask to be trained. Far from it, the fact that I, the one person he could call his arch-enemy, was still alive, was not something he had to learn by himself. In fact, I'm sure he thought something in this vein. I'll just try to quickly forget all about Dio and the stone mask. That's who he was. The kind of man that would separate himself from murder. The type of man that could forget the taste of the bread he ate. The type that would carelessly try to return to his daily life. And I, Dio, would be thankful for that. But Zeppeli gave him Hamon. From Zeppeli he inherited Hamon and the fate of the stone mask. He was still an inheritor. He himself never moved. He was either given or inherited everything that changed his life. Jonathan Joestar lived a lazy, spoilt life. When I look at it that way, it seems my drunkard father and Jonathan Joestar actually have something in common. There is also the secondary comparison that to both, I was an arch enemy. However, the comparison ends there. My father was a taker, like me. Essentially, if you were to probe into the battle between Jonathan and myself, you would find that it was ultimately a battle between takers and inheritors. And if you go further and consider that I lost, you would see that in the end, no matter how we may try, the takers cannot win against the inheritors, much like the have-nots cannot win against the haves. Don't you agree? No, that's not right. It is certainly true that I lost in the short run, but my battle against the Joestars is not yet over. It continues even now. Entry 49. Geb, Endul, Knum, Oingo, Toth, Boingo, Anubis, Masterless, Bastet, Maria, Setan, Alessi, Osiris, Daniel J. Darby, Atum, Terence T. Darby, Horus, Pet Shop. The 9 major Egyptian gods. I have them, as well as whole horse, gathered at my mansion. Truly, something I could call a masterpiece, like the Leonardo da Vinci fresco, The Last Supper. If these 10 stands formed a team and attacked at once, even I would not stand a chance. But that will not happen. They won't form a team. They won't form cliques. Stand users are extremely afraid of other stand users learning their abilities. Some of those here have the resourcefulness to form teams, as I said before, but they are the exceptions to the rule. Whole Horse and the Oingo and Boingo brothers. I've informed them of what actions to take next. With the Joestars likely having broken past Judgment and High Priestess and reached Egypt, I have directed the 9 Egyptian gods to ambush and eliminate them. This is also for the sake of allowing me to safely meet with Pucci and buy me time to find the path to heaven, and of course, time to adapt to Jonathan's body. Regardless of the reason, I still cannot say that I am in the best condition to meet the enemy, which has proven itself to be a force far stronger than anticipated. According to reports, it seems that the Speedwagon Foundation has caught wind of this meeting. In other words, they have alerted the Joestars about this mansion that I, Dio, am living in. I am repulsed by the idea of running, but for now it seems that getting away from here may be a good idea. I'll call Kenny G and Vanilla Ice as well. Vanilla Ice in particular is a trump card, but you never know what may happen.